the more positive we are with things and how we can like control the way we think is going to impact our day to day. So just say, for instance, you know, you're driving down the road, you're going home, someone cuts you off, and then you're like, oh, F you, da, da, da. Like, you get back home for the next 4 hours, you're like, like, and you're just like pissed off the rest of the time. Why?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
Like,
I feel the same way about that with like athletic teams. Like, I've always been such a bad sports fan, but I think it's because like I see how emotional people get about it. I'm like, you couldn't like,
you're not out there,
You're
bro.
not out there, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you. In this, like, you're in a stadium and there's a dude who's just like cussing the ref, or he's just like, you know, not crying, but just like obviously having a horrible day. And I'm like, bro, like, you're very disconnected. The louder you yell, I'm telling you, they can't hear you, my man.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, people are like too worried about things that aren't in their control.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so yeah, essentially, like, I started like paying more attention, and like, you actually have to try to like pay attention.
Yeah.
So, you know, at first it would be like, I would kind of just like journal down, you know, what took place that day. And then eventually it's like, you start recognizing it, where you have to take these breaks throughout the day. And it's like, you know, like, man, what just happened? Why am I mad about that?
Yeah.
And I think the real most impactful thing is when you start taking in consideration perspectives. Because there was I think he was a clinical psychologist in like Baltimore or something that I read about, one of these positive psychology books. But understanding perspectives can have a big impact and rationalizing things.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening was someone, I think, broke into his home and like murdered his family, things of that nature.
Oh, jeez.
And like, he forgave the person that did that because he was looking at the other perspective of like, why did this person do that? Why did he break in and rob? What was the situation?
Yeah.
And rationalizing those sorts of situations.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, it's an intense thing, but it's like, if you dwell on the negative for so long.
Yeah.
And that's just an extreme case. Think about people dwelling on like,
oh no, you're right. Yeah, there's exactly
dumb stuff.
My Starbucks order was wrong, and I'm gonna have the worst day ever because I got 2 pumps instead of 3 pumps.
Yeah, I mean, so like, if you just like try to think about, you know, you get cut off, rationalize why did they cut you off? Why are they speeding? Like, well, maybe they have rushed into the hospital, or maybe, you know, you know, it's gone and passed.
You never know.
Like, instead of just being all mad about like something you can't control.
Yeah.
So being mindful, you know, the most important time of the day is when?
Most important time of the day?
Yeah.
The morning.
No, right now. Most important time of the day is right now, being in the moment. That's going to be the most important time. If we're worried about what's going to take place, you know, later in the day, we're not focused on right now.
Yeah.
If we're worried about what's happened already, well, we're not going to be, you know, at our best right now.
Yeah.
Most important part of the day is right now. You know, being in the moment. That's being mindful. And it's like, we live in a world. We live in a world where there's so much information getting thrown at us. Like, you know, nonstop. We look at the phone, like you're out and about.
And how much of that is negative?
That, and it's just like, sometimes we just need to take a break. And it's like, the easiest thing is like, if you were just to go outside, you know, relax. And there's like more that you could do, but let's just say you're just starting out. You step outside, close your eyes, cycle through, you know, you're breathing a little bit, open it up, and just like start noticing, look around. And start appreciating everything around you, like, you know, like the trees, the birds.
For sure.
And like, you're focusing on things that we often overlook. And it's like, creates this like little, you know, little positivity in your daytime. Or even just like, you know, we were talking about a lot of times that when we're doing tasks that we're not breathing.
Yeah.
Like, if you just say, hey, every time I walk through a doorway, I'm going to just take a second, just kind of like, do I feel tense?
Yep.
Let me just breathe, relax. Like,
I like that. Yeah.
so it's just like little steps. Being mindful is probably the difference maker.
Mm-hmm.
Because say if you're an athlete or if you're going for a presentation,
Mm-hmm.
and say if something's going on in your home life, and then you go into that presentation like thinking about that,
Mm-hmm.
how well is that presentation going to go?
Exactly. You're thrown off already going in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's already there.
Yeah.
You can come back to that whenever you're finished.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's about having that understanding of like, why am I worried about that right now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like there'd be like times like, have you ever like just woken up in the middle of the night like worried about something?
In the morning it'll hit me. In the morning it'll wake up and I'm like, damn, I got to do that, that, and that, and it's like I've got to get those 3 things done, or it'll happen to me right as I'm going to sleep. I don't think I've ever woken up from it, but it definitely hits
even
me.
like
Yeah.
right going to sleep. It's like, if you just like tell yourself, why am I worried about this right
That
now?
happened to me last night. I was going to sleep. I was like, damn, I got to send that person that thing, and I got to make sure that gets done. And I had to get my phone out and put it into my phone as a reminder so I would know to do it when I woke up in the morning. But that helped get it out of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, like things like that, it's like when you're sleeping and about to go to bed, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's still going to be there in the morning. You can deal with
For
it
sure.
then.
Yeah.
Why am I worried about it right now?
I'll marinate on it if I don't get it out, though. It'll
But
just
it's
sit
all
there.
about
Yeah.
just changing the way that you
Yeah.
think about things. Like,
Mm.
even if you like just make that note, that's
Yeah.
like all right, like boom,
Yeah,
here, this
it's
is
good. Yeah.
But yeah, like just to dwell on something for,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, why am I worried about this?
Yeah.
Like, or even like in,
that's comments on Jeb's World's YouTube videos.
yeah, it's like when I'm working with an athlete and it's like, say competition wise, whatever the time period is,
Mm-hmm.
People like to look at the end result before it's there. So people look up at the scoreboard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you have, say, like 20 minutes left and you're down by 2 points,
Yeah.
why are you worried about the end?
Yeah.
Like if you're
Yeah.
worried about right now, the greater
Mhm.
chances are that you can get back.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's one score at a time
For sure.
opposed to like,
You were big on that when we were wrestling. Don't look at the scoreboard.
I mean, it doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah, well, I remember that being a big thing. You're like, don't look at the scoreboard. And I'm like, I don't want to go look at the scoreboard.
yeah, I mean, like you go out there and do what you're supposed
yeah,
to do.
you go do what you're supposed to
And
do.
that's the thing is like the greatest thing to learn is failure.
Mm,
So, because failure like provides feedback.
yeah.
So we always get negative and positive feedback.
Mhm.
Positive feedback's like what went well.
Yeah.
Okay, how can I like utilize this on a more regular basis or
Uh-huh.
incorporate this? Negative feedback's like, what did I do that didn't go well?
Yeah.
All right, how can I remove this sort of situation?
Yeah.
But failure's like and that's kind of what's wrong with like education system is because you can't fail.
Mm.
Like the lowest
That's
grade a
true,
kid
yeah.
can get is like a 60 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like there's no way to fail anymore. But failure like allows someone,
Yeah.
the ability to learn.
Mm-hmm.
So say for instance, like,
Especially in athletics where it can be so intense. It's like you got to get comfortable with that early on. Otherwise, it's going to be.
but yeah, people like don't teach people how to fail.
No, not at all. Yeah.
And that's like the most important life lesson is like
Yeah.
failing's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because like sometimes you see athletes go out to compete and they're worried about not losing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're worried about not losing, your focus isn't on what you need to be doing right then and there.
No.
So
Yeah.
If that's all your focus, you'll be like holding back
Yep.
because you'll be scared of like, oh, if I do this, that could cause me to like lose. So you're never going to perform at your best.
Yeah.
So I kind of frame it like this, like, are you going out there, not to lose, or you're going out there to, get better, to learn and get better?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's like there's always a competition.
Mm-hmm.
Or, business world. If you go into a meeting and you're like concerned about like, oh, what if I get rejected? And like in my daytime job in sales, like, all right, I know I'm gonna hit on some stuff, and some stuff's not gonna like happen. Like,
Yeah.
all right, move on. Because like, if I go in one place and they say no to me, all right, cool. Like, we'll get something later on.
Yeah.
So it's all about, kind of like framing that and like having an understanding that
Kind of bouncing off of it. Let it be what it is.
did something go wrong there?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of sort of feedback can I get to better myself and improve myself for the next time?
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about just like learning. Just learning.
That's really strong. Yeah.